Folks, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. Today we're going to learn more about dotted notes, reading dotted notes. Okay, you ready for this? So I've already done a bunch of lessons on reading rhythm. This is the fourth in that series, and it's also part of a larger mini course called Note Reading for Fiddlers, but you probably already know all that. All right, but just in case you're kind of starting in the middle, I always think that the progression is best, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, so that opening ditty I played has a dotted quarter note plus an eighth note in it. And I'm just strumming it as a chord. Now let's play it on the fiddle, just on open D, that same rhythm. And that would be counted 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Or if we do a full bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can try that counting on your own, maybe rewind the video or something. Okay, so now remember that when we add a dot to the right of a note, that lengthens it by half that note's value already. So if we have a quarter note, we would be half of the value of a quarter note is an eighth note, so it's like we tack on an eighth note. Let's look at the lesson page and see that a dotted quarter note is equal to a quarter note and a half note together, or just 3 eighth notes. So a dotted quarter note is equal to a quarter note and an eighth note, or 3 eighth notes. Okay, just to be super clear. Moving on, the next little exercise would be played like so. So looking at it before we start, we have 2 quarter notes, a dotted quarter note, and then an eighth, all open D. And so that would sound like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here it is again. I'll do it twice in a row. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, cool. So if this stuff is not making sense, if it's not mathematically making sense, or for whatever reason, I just want to encourage you to keep going if you really want to learn to read, because by just looking at the notes and hearing them, you're going to get it. That's what I call intuitive note reading. It's just going to happen because your brain picks up these patterns, and there's a certain process you can use to encourage that natural process. Okay, so let's go down. Let's look at the same phrase here, this exercise. I'm going to jump ahead to the first exercise on the page just to kind of illustrate. So exercise 1, so the 1A just doesn't have audio. So take a look at that. All right, so there's that same thing we did earlier, which is, if you look at the first bar, that's the same thing we just did. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. All right, so before going on, I want you to study that first bar and then ask yourself, is it repeated somewhere else? There's 3 other bars that follow. Okay, just take a second to find that. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you. If you still want to think about it, just pause the video. So the second bar is the exact same thing. The third bar is a little bit different. The fourth bar is the exact same thing. So if you learn that first bar in this exercise, you know 3/4 of the exercise. So this principle is very important for learning to read any music, but especially fiddle music, because it's very repetitive. So if you learn 1 bar, or maybe the first 2 bars, which is the first quarter, often if you look ahead, oh, there it is again in the third quarter, right? I mean, we discover this a lot when we do tunes, but as you learn to read on your own, I really want to encourage you to, when you learn, just to take small little steps. And once you get one little thing, make the work easier for yourself and look ahead and see if it happens again. Plus, that'll give you confidence. If you look at this now, instead of having to learn 4 bars, you're like, oh, I already know most of it. I just need to learn 1 other bar, right? So now so then you would go and be like, okay, let's look at the third bar. Oh, well, that's the one I don't know. That's just a dotted quarter plus a half. Sorry, dotted quarter note plus an eighth note, dotted quarter note plus an eighth note. I think I got that. That's just long, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Oh, yeah. Then you do that a little bit, and then you're ready to do the whole thing. So let's do that now. So I'm just going to let the exercise roll and just kind of give you an idea. Well, why don't we just listen to it once? Actually, I'm just going to play along, it'll be easier. But on your own, you may want to listen a little bit first to an exercise when you're learning to read rhythm, because it's very tricky, I think, to learn to read rhythm. 2, 3, 4. So now I'm just listening to absorb it and watching it. All right, and then I would just continue to alternate between playing, reading, playing, and reading. And that's this intuitive note reading process. For those of you who have taken a lot of these note reading lessons and you're hearing this over and over again, I apologize, but I'm not trying to annoy you. I'm trying to really just get you to do this. And you can really use this process for any tune that you learn to read. Like if you go and learn classical music, some of you may want to learn that, or some pop song, or some older swing jazz song. You can use all these same principles, okay? I'm just gonna kind of scan ahead. So I think I've hit upon a few good points already. Now what I wanna do is talk about triplets in 4/4 tunes. So the last lesson we talked about jigs, which are 6/8. So that's just basically 2 sets of triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? It's 2 sets of 3. So in 4/4 tunes, when we have triplets, it's gonna kind of have a similar feel, but it's gonna be written a little bit different, and it needs a little explanation. So when we have a triplet, looking at the screen video, we'll put a numeral 3 above the 3 notes, and we'll have them kind of grouped together, and just know that this equals 1 quarter note, okay? So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes, and then say we convert each of those quarter notes to triplets, we get this next little snippet here that you'll see, which is 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. So again, like clapping these things helps. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. While you count, do that on your own, or just play it. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. To help get the feel, it's helpful to give a little bit of an accent to the downbeats. So like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. All right. Very cool. Yeah, so I think we're doing well here. If you've made it this far, hats off to you, by the way, because you've really stuck with it, and let me know how it's going. I hope that it's starting to make sense and help you with tunes. But the more you kind of just read tunes that are familiar, the more you'll be able to read tunes you don't know. So look at this. I'm just going to play this next rhythm, and I have an explanation of what's going on, but I think it's better just to start by playing it. It's all on the D string, and it's 1 and 2, 3, 1. So we have 2 eighth notes plus a triplet plus 2 quarter notes. 1 and 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. All right, so now let's go and read some triplet things below. So this would be a good exercise to do. Exercise 9B. I'm just gonna play it and play along. You can get the idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. next round you could just read and try to absorb it, okay? So, all right, cool. So that's generally how triplets work. It won't be as cut and dried and easy as this. We'll try some harder examples in a minute. Okay, so now I want to back up to an earlier exercise and kind of talk about it. So exercise 7, let's just look at 7B with the audio. And what I'm realizing is that a good way to learn to read rhythms is to start with tunes you're familiar with, like O Susanna. And so we have 2 bars from O Susanna, the first 2 bars, but then we pair that with just the same exact rhythm but on an open D, all right? So if we look at the first 2 bars of O Susanna, it sounds like. I left out the little pickup. So we have. All right, and now if you look at the first 2 bars of exercise 7, you see that it's the same exact rhythm on an open D. Then we do O Susanna. All right, so you can use this on any tune that you're learning, all right? This strategy of kind of extracting the rhythm. You could also clap the rhythm, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. And it's not always easy to do, but you know, let's take a simpler example like Fa Do Do. And then if we extract the rhythm, we'd have on open D. All right, so anyway, that's a very useful strategy that you'll find in these exercises. I do the same thing for carry polka and different parts of carry polka, all right? So I think that's about it for this. The rest of the exercises you can just work through, and if you just do them enough, I think that they'll make sense, all right? You'll eventually start to hear it, be able to play it without even reading, and that's a good point, but then you still go back and try to read and play at the same time. Keep returning to these, all right? Don't just do them once or twice. Do them over a whole week, do these exercises till you really start to feel comfortable reading, okay? And that's about it for this lesson. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for helping me to teach you so well. Like all your good questions and comments, and frankly, just a lot of the kindness and friendliness that you've all shown has been really appreciated, especially during this strange and somewhat lonely time. It's good to have a conversation with you all. All right, so hang in there, and I hope you're soon able to read any tune that you want to learn. Okay, thanks for watching FiddleHed. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.